hala me kalehua e halele uano iana kanoe o kau noia e anui ilia nei hoi o lahi ki mai a hiki mai no ko hiki puno me ke aloha 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 I'm Kahu Kamana Opono, and I'm so honored to be here. And it's been a blessing getting familiar with Lauren again after all these years and meeting Ross. Many years ago, I had the honor, the privilege to introduce both of them. And here I am, many years later, sharing the love that I still have for both of them. I ask that you all please stand as we do the Lord's Prayer in Hawaii. E pulika ko, e ko mako makua I loko o kalami, e honga ia ko inoa, e hiki mai ko au puni, e malama ia ko make makapuni wai, e hiki me ia malama ia makalani la, e hawa mai ia mako e ki ia la, e aina mako no ne ia la, e kalamai ho ia mako I ka mako lawe hala ana. Me mako I kalene I ka poi e lawe hala ka mako. Mai hoku o ia mako I ka ho vale vale ia mai. E he ho pakele no na ia mako. I ka ino, no ka mea, no ke aupuni, a me ka mana, a me ka honania ia, a maloa aku. Amen.
E pule kako. E nā makua, nā kua, me kia kua manaloa. You are a kua known by so many names, one energy, so many names, as we are people known by so many names, but also one energy. And we are all here today to feel our connection, our collective energy with each other, and this man that so many of us have come to love and to know and to cherish. For some of us, he has been a part of our lives only for a moment, and others for our whole existence. And so we're here to be together and learn what it means to continue on our own paths without him here. To gain strength from each other for our new journey. To reconnect to him in a new way. And to connect to each other in the way that we were always meant to be connected. We pray for today's gathering to be blessed with fellowship and happiness, but also for us to embrace emotions that may be more difficult, emotions that may cause eha in our na'au and in our hearts, things that may ache, memories that may stoke tears to our eyes. We ask, Ako, that you bless all of our emotions and that you see them come and go, and we allow them to come and go as they may. We do not hold on to any of them, but we experience them because we are alive, we are living, because we are connected, not in this human form, but in a spiritual form. All around us, you are alive. You come to us in the rain, and in the winds, and in the many plants that grow here in the valley, in the eyes of the people who are here. And we know that truly nothing is ever created or destroyed energy is eternal. We ask for a special blessing upon Chip's family as they move forward in their journeys, that you continue to show them all the work that must be done while they are here in order to fulfill their own unique purposes, their own unique missions. And you let them know that right around every corner are the tools and people and skills that they will need to go forward and do your good work. Please bless our gathering, Ke'akua. Please allow the Amakua to come from all of our various traditions and all of our various genealogies to be here with us and to connect us all the way from the beginning of time back to this very moment. Mahalo Akua for all of the blessings. And we pray this in all of your many names and in the name that Chip himself used. We pray this in the name of the Master of the universe.
Please be seated. Thank you. So this is a celebration of life, and we've come to share stories and share the life of Chip. And like I said, I was so fortunate knowing Lorna from the days that I used to frequent one of the places that she worked at. And with Chip, I met Chip through Chucky Boy Chop. And one evening, he asked me if I was playing that night, and I said, yes, I am. Come on by. And Lorna called me later and said, hey, so are you playing tonight? I said, yes, I am. Come on down. So they gathered, and it was a story that started from that point on. And many years later, there was so much love and so many exciting journeys that both of them took throughout their lives, and I'm so happy to be here. And I'd like to share this song right now by Ina Machado. This song speaks about the love that you have for a person. Think of all those memories and all those wonderful times that you were with Chip, everyone. Feel the love that is felt with everyone that is here today. This love that never ends. Kia aloha. Aloha, my dear kumu. Aloha, found your way. E kualoha, amen. There'll be no one in your place. Amen. As evening shadows fall, I hear your sweet melody that brings back fond memories of you. I'd be so lost without you. I say everything just seems so blue. My heart keeps saying that it's you, dear. Well, it's you, just you, my darling. Oh, how far you're away. You are just mine alone. There'll be no one in your place. Amen. I'd be so lost without you. I see everything just seems so blue. My heart keeps saying that it's you, dear. Well, it's you, just you, my darling. Aloha, far you're away. E kualoha, hey, there'll be no one in your place. Amen. There'll be no To our brother Chippin, to Uehara-Tilton, Ohana. Thank you, Kuma Strong, lovely Mike Bella. This is a time of celebration. This is a time of love. This is a time of joy. Um, Today we cry, we laugh, but most of all, we gather together as one Ohana and share the love that we have for Chip today. At this time, all the way from the beautiful island of Hawaii, from Hilo, and we like to thank her for bringing the ua with her, because ua is always a blessing, and we love the ua. Nice round of applause for Skylark Rossetti, everyone. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Mahalo nui. Kamanao and Lorna and Ross, come sit down, relax, okay? Kamanao had you folks introduce each other to each other, but I hope you guys actually did, because that's one thing about Chip's friends. His boating friends didn't know too much about his entertainment friends. His entertainment friends didn't know too much about his entrepreneurial type friends. And so it's interesting to see all of us here together to share in this love that we have for this special guy, Mr. Chip Tilton. So this eulogy was put together by his son Ross, and also one of his dear friends, Mark Swain, who lives in Portland, Maine, who could not be with us. But he shared some of these thoughts, and so we put them together, and hopefully we'll be able to share a little clip into the life of our friend Edward Chip Tilton. He was born December 4th, 1946 in Tucson, Arizona. His father, Edward Ned and Presidia Sid Tilton, he graduated from West High in Phoenix, Arizona, and earned a BA in secondary education from California State University. He had an incredibly wide... Hello? Okay. Thank you, Chip. You can have this one. He has to be here somehow, fooling around with the microphones. I had an opportunity to meet Chip in the 70s. He strolled into KCCN radio station when we were in Waikiki, down in the business plaza, and he had these Martin sunglasses and was interested in trying to figure out how to market his sunglasses and get some little airtime, and he loved Hawaiian music, and we've been vast friends ever since. Through that, we were able to introduce him to people like Chucky Boy Chuck, who we were so hoping that he would have joined us here. But you know Chuckles, he's on Kauai, and hard to get him off the Aina, even though he knew his sister was coming all the way in from Hilo and bringing the ua. But Mike Kaava is here, and those guys went back to a group called Brown Company, and Chip used to help manage that group, and found them gigs in all different kinds of places. And it was interesting, those wild 70s, yeah? We all remember those 70s, don't we? Yeah. Anyway, so let's go back to while he was attending California State University. His best friend, Mark Swain, shared some thoughts of how they would grab beers and sit on the roof and dream and talk about life, and they imagined that they would change it just with the sheer thoughts of their thinking that they could change the world, they were going to change the world. Chip was an amazing guy. He collected all kinds of cars. That was his passion at the time during college, and he kept them running. He was always there to fix anybody's car. I didn't understand how he got into mechanics so well, but you have to have that kind of mechanical mind, and I think he did, because he not only did cars, but of course we know that he went into the boats as well. He was a semi-truck driver, and he drove across western United States. He could tell you stories about downhill, losing his brakes. He could talk to you about careening into embankments to avoid going over another cliff, snowy mountain passes with no chains on his tires, all kinds of stories. And it was amazing, because you look at him and say, Chip, you're so young, how do you do all these things? But that was Chip. He joined the Peace Corps a week before he received his notice to report to an Army recruiting station, making him exempt from the draft. He served as a teacher of auto mechanics, of all things, in Malaysia, where he drove his Honda Scrambler motorcycle through these muddy jungles to school each day to teach, and then he would end up in this meal plan at this Indian food buffet. Chip's interest in the Peace Corps followed him as a host to a local television show he was doing recently called Bring the World Home, where he would interview many returning Peace Corps volunteers living in Hawaii and sharing their experiences. Are there many of you from the Peace Corps here with us today? There you are. Aloha. How about his friends from the mainland? Do you remember him from college? Is there any college buddies who have joined us here today? Oh, you're as well from there.
I didn't actually go to college with him.
Oh, okay.
I met him while he was in college in Arizona.
Okay, so you're from Arizona side. Fabulous.
I was there in the military.
Ah, okay. Wonderful.
I'll tell my story.
You're going to get up and tell your story, because there are a lot of people who are going to get up and tell their own stories, but I'm just going to do this little capsule, and then you guys are going to get up and you're going to share your aloha for our brother Chip. His entrepreneurial, as I told you, I met him with the sunglasses business. Well, when he arrived here in 1978, that Martin Sunglasses was his ticket into meeting all kinds of people. And he would take his moped across Oahu, making friends along the way. He was a master of the art of friendship. He was also involved in Honolulu civic entrepreneurship initiatives. The Weinberg estate had this grant project, and it brought local businesses, attorneys, socialites together to brainstorm on ways to foster entrepreneur training here in Hawaii. Kamana Opono, as we learned, was very instrumental in bringing two very special people together, and that was Lorna and Chip. And they had been together for over 22 years together, and I think it was love at first sight. It was interesting enough, 22 years ago to this day, that they were married at Haiku. And it's interesting that she chose this day to send him off to his eternal home. So thank you, Lorna, for being so gracious and sharing this special day with us. The two shared, of course, their greatest love, and that, of course, was their son, Ross, who was born August 14th, 1992. My son was also born in 1992, and the two grew up together, and they were so cute as little babies. We have pictures of them together. That's simply because Ross and Lorna had a home in Hilo, and they would come up and spend some time when they had time. And that was their kind of like their little escape, their runaway from all the madness of Honolulu. Another of Chip's accomplishments was the incorporation of Kasa Moku Kapaua Broadcasting. That's where I entered the picture. They needed a Hawaiian female broadcaster. And Chip goes, "Oh, I know a Hawaiian female broadcaster." Those things that the Federal Communications Commission at the time were looking at were called integration credits. Those credits gave you a little bit extra move forward above anybody else who applied for this license. There was the last Class C radio station available in the state of Hawaii, and Chip wanted it and said he was going to get it. And he had this friend who was into venture capital, who had several Spanish language television and radio stations in California and Arizona. And so he called upon Walter to help us with achieving his goal, was to own this radio station here in Hawaii. Well, in 2000, we were the last purveyors out of 13 other people, and headed to Washington, D.C. to stand in front of the FCC to say, yes, I'm a Native Hawaiian woman, and I'm in the broadcast business, and yes, we're going to have this radio station, and you better approve Palihua Ridge as a place to put antenna towers, because going up Wili Wili Ridge, you can only do it by helicopter. So we eventually did win out, and that is the approved site now for all radio stations on Oahu is Palihua Ridge. So, we had an interesting, long friendship, Chip and I, from the 70s through the radio station. And then as soon as we got it, the Federal Communication Commission deregulated ownerships of radio stations, and that allowed the big guys to own more than one radio station per town. And they could own television and radio, and they ended up having up to 7 or 9 radio stations under one conglomerate, which put all us little guys out of business. But that was okay. I think Chip and I had other things to do in our lives than own radio stations. Anyway, so that was our entrepreneurship into the radio business, but it brought Chip an opportunity to go to Japan and share thoughts about how to share Hawaii's music with the rest of the world, and it was an exciting time for him. We all know about Chip's love for the ocean, and a sense of adventure brought him. to the most beautiful places in the world, just simply by escorting, starting off with escorting canoes from the Molokai Channel back to Honolulu, and the last trip in 2005 and 2007 with Brother Leighton Siu over here to Mokumanamana. What an opportunity, just unbelievable. How many of the boating friends are here? Look, see, half the room is all his boating friends, you see? It wasn't, it was Chip that actually brought a lot of us out to the ocean, sent us out having an opportunity to go fishing with the rum line. How many of you remember the rum line? Yeah. Those were good days. There was an opportunity for Ross to learn how to steer his boat back onto the shores there and spend a lot of time at the Kaneohe sandbar. Hands? Okay, there's some sandbar people out there. I know, those were fun days. Yeah, I can't do those anymore, Mike says, yes. But those were days that gave Ross an opportunity to learn from his dad all those passionate things, and not just about boating and sailing and the water sports, but you know, Chip, he was just so talented in everything, ATVs and motorcycles, and you know, Ross is going to maybe say a few words about his dad. I couldn't do it. My mother passed away, so I don't blame you. But it was most important that bonding between dad and son happened, and it was an exciting opportunity for Chip to share with his boy their love for each other. If it wasn't just being together or sailing across the Kaiwi channels or doing stuff like that or hiking or when Ross grew older, busier, and moved out, Chip devoted a lot of his free time to playing with his cats. There were 3 of them? 5! Oh, I lost it at 3. Oh my goodness. You know, whenever we went over to the house, he would always have something going on, whether it be a fishing pole with something on the end that he would throw at the cats and the cats would come jumping around, or he would do all kinds of fun things with those cats. Those were his life. He loved that, and that was his downtime away from all of the hectic life. And when the cats were sleeping, Chip enjoyed reading his New Yorker or watching foreign films on Netflix. And I think foreign films because they were always subtitled, so he didn't have to worry whether he could hear the words. We all know he had a hearing problem, right? Okay. So whether it was Arizona or California to visit with his sister and brother, or the in-laws, Mary Ann or Bob, or his nephew Justin, or just to attend family reunions, they loved to travel. It was pleasurable for both of them. Chip loved to take his family. The family went on trips to Alaska, New York, and several stops in between. The last trip he took was to Nevada to deliver a boat to Lake Tahoe, and he took Lorna with him. And after work was finished, the two enjoyed what was essentially a second and final honeymoon. I know that you all have wonderful memories that you're going to get up and share with Chip, and I hope that we were able to sort of capitalize a little bit about our friend and share just a few little thoughts about how special he was to each and every one of us, because I think that's why we're all here. He was a special guy. I'm Skylark. Mahalo.
Thank you, Sky. And again, coming out from the Big Island, so much love is here today. Thank you. I know there's a lot of you here that has messages and stories you'd like to share, and this is your opportunity. This is your time. We know the energy and the love of Chip is here. And he's looking at his friends like, come on, I know you want to share some stuff with me. So, am I looking at Leighton right here? Okay, so Leighton, see, we're going to have him say a few words. Put your hands together for it. Everybody that's sharing messages today, that's giving our support.
Olo ka waa makali'i kai e na hoku hoko lea makali'i I kalani e ka pena o moana nui e ka makani olu olu holo holo ka waa I kalani e mako ka mako e kulo me ka haa e. A e u au e. Alo e, alo
Aloha kako. You know, because of LJ, Little John, back in 2005, I've sailed all over the world, many vessels, many countries. But because of LJ, he introduced me to Chip. And what was most interesting about our voyage was we escorted the Hokole and the Hoko Alakai to Mokomanamana. And we went there to understand the different seasons of the winter solstice, summer solstice, and equinox to see how everything sets on that island. People don't know that Chip was one of the few that introduced the practitioners of Papana Moku Ukia. And when I look back of our first voyage with them, I went to Mokumana way back in 1968, my first sail up there in 68. But my second voyage with Chip. Inside me, as time has passed, I look back at this man. I tell myself, wow, here's this brother who took all of us. And there was about, what, LJ, 12? How many? We had about 12 of us at LJ, practitioners. And to see all the Hawaiians to sail up to Mokumanamana, to understand our ancestors and how we got there and what we're doing. Chip is part of that. He's in our soul. He's with Papaku Makavalu, because when we get together, we always talk about our first trip to Mokumanamana. We always talk about LJ and Chip. So as for us Selamokus, who was able to enjoy that voyage, for me is the deepest treasure in my na'au. Because this man has opened the door. I've done 5 trips up there now. And we've got so good at it now that we're studying the islands. And every time, the next time I go Mokumanamana, we'll make sure that we'll have an oli and a chant in his honor on Mokumanamana for Brother Chip. Aloha, aloha, aloha.
I'd like to introduce John Brown to everyone right now. Nice round of applause for John.
I just wanted to say that I think that Chip is, I think a lot of you guys, and I'm not good at this, so sorry. Chip got me into boating. There was a lot of times I wanted to quit. It was too hard. I didn't know how to fix things. Didn't know how to drive, operate. Didn't know the oceans, and certainly didn't know the islands. And more than 20 years ago, Chip sort of said, "You can do this. We're gonna do this." He taught me how to do oil changes, take apart motors, do things I never thought that I would have done. And I think that today, my love for the ocean and being able to have some of the vessels and been to some of the places is because of Chip. And I want to say thank you, because my life, being able to know more about the islands and being on the water and doing all the things that he loved is one of the reasons today why I'll never be away from these islands. I've recently moved to Maui, and I was hoping to invite him and his family with us there, which we couldn't do. But Chip, thank you very much. I love you, and I'll always miss you. Thank you.
Okay, some shared thoughts and memories from Anela. Nice round of applause for Anela, everyone.
Aloha mai kako. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
There's so much to say about Uncle Chip. I've known him practically 2/3 or 3/4 of my life. I'm actually LJ's daughter, and today I'll be representing the family, but essentially there's just so many profound things to say about such a profound human being. You know, I've met thousands of people throughout my lifetime, and there are probably only 3 beautiful souls that I've ever met in my lifetime. And out of all the beautiful souls that I've ever met in this world, Uncle Chip was definitely the first and foremost. Not only was he a friend to my father, or an uncle to me, but he's been a friend to everybody, whether or not you know him from various facets of his life. Even if you're one of his customers, he still treated you more like a friend. And the other day when we were having the meeting here, I heard Auntie Lorna say something so deeply profound that it just overwhelmed me. And I have so much honor and respect for her for sitting here right today, because she unfortunately lost Uncle Chip on the day of her mother's funeral. And she said that at that moment she felt like an orphan. And honestly, you're never alone, Auntie Lorna. We're all here. We all love you. And we'll always be here for you. But I can understand that loneliness because Uncle Chip had such a bright light. His mana was so powerful that he's basically comparable to the brightest stars in the heavens. That his vivacity and his love of life was so overwhelming that the void of him feels like the deepest depths of a black hole. And I understand that loss because I've been dealing with that loss myself too. Like I said, I've known him since I was a little girl, and he's been more like a father to me than anything. My father's always gone 7 months out of the year, but fortunately I've had some close uncles that have been around, and he's definitely been there throughout everything. Whether or not it was coming over to the house or seeing him down at the yacht club as my students just started bombarding, sorry Mr. Browning, but your boat. But there were several times, where it was always nice and comforting to see a friendly face, the face of a father and a friend. And I just wanted to thank each and every one of you for being here. And I know especially to the whole Luaina people, who most of them unfortunately possibly never had the opportunity to meet Uncle Chip. But he was such a brilliant soul, and he would have loved each and every one of you. I used to always refer to him, personally, at least amongst the family, as an inverted coconut. And I know that sounds really cool, but I'm sure that many people know what the term coconut means. Yeah, brown on the outside, kind of, white on the inside. But Uncle Chip's heart was always, I know people like to say that they have a heart of gold, but Uncle Chip's heart was definitely worth his weight in poi. Because, yes, he had such an appreciation and empathy for everyone that he's ever met and for various cultures. And as Uncle Layton was referring to, when we went on that huaka'i to Nihua Mokumanamana with all of the practitioners, I had a discussion with Auntie Puakanahele on the bridge. And she goes, Anella, she goes, I was so afraid. And I said, of what, Auntie? And she goes, oftentimes when we try to do our protocol and we try to holomoa in the wake of our ancestors, it's hard to find the right crew to kako'or to support our cause. And she said that you folks have such a phenomenal crew that is so empathetic to our culture that they're willing to give us anything and everything. And for those of you who sincerely or had a close relationship with Uncle Chip, you would understand that he just had that compassion for all of humanity. It didn't matter which walk of life we came from, what aspects or prospects we had, but he treated us the same nonetheless. And one of the coolest things, I know this is probably a little perhaps inappropriate at the time, but some of the key things I'll remember about Uncle Chip was he always had some kind of anecdote to share. And most people tend to share all of these random, euphemistic, utopic kind of anecdotes, but his was from personal life experiences. And those are the ones that always stuck, and there are two prominent stories that I remember him telling me. When I was 12 years old, I'm always the type that likes to learn my lessons vicariously, so I like to learn the consequences from other people. But I remembered learning about the whole historical context of hashish from Uncle Chip at the age of 12. Unfortunately, because of that, they always have the best intentions. If you share everything with the child, perhaps they'll never deviate on that path. And for the most part, it's helped me to keep me focused and on my path. And another story was, I still want to try this one day, by the way, but he always talked about when he was in high school, he and his friends used to strap themselves to the top of a hearse and go dune bogging. So he said that one time he was strapped to the roof of the hearse and they were hopping over these sand dunes, and next thing you know, the car rolled over on top of it. It's just like all of these phenomenal experiences that he had that he was always willing to share. And the thing I think about it was that because he had such a deep appreciation for life, it allowed him to live it to the utmost extent. And sometimes I get so bogged down with my personal kuleana and responsibilities um, that sometimes I forget to live in the moment and to truly appreciate it. So I think one of the key essentials that I will take from Uncle Chip with me no matter where I go is to actually start enjoying the moments that we're living instead of living them vicariously and just living through the moment. Thank you so much, Uncle Chip, for everything that you've given to us, and I'll always take you no matter where I go. Thank you so much.
So over 20 years ago when they first met, it was kind of a fog for me, but somebody joggled my mind today, and Kumu Krista was telling the story that after Chip's passing, that Lorna went to the our class, and they hung out and they started singing and just enjoying the company of each other. And they began to sing "I Remember You." And she just started crying and crying, and it was a good time for her to release, all of this divide that was inside. And then once she released it, it cleansed the body too. So it was something that was really needed for her. And then she says, and she told him the story of how they first met at Alakea Bar and Grill back in the 80s. And they told the story of how they met me and how Chip was there. And guess what Chip sang? So everybody's mind, they're thinking, "I remember you." She said, "Ghostbusters!" All right, oh my God, that's right. I forgot about that. But Kuma Krista, thank you for that wonderful story and enlightening me today. This is Marianne and this is Chip's sister. Everybody give her a nice round of aloha today.
Well, thank you all for being here. What a blessing it is for all of us, and especially for the family, to see so many people that love Chip be here today. And just thank you for the contributions that you've made to this event and to make it the good memory that it will be for all of us. And Krista, I was telling Justin, my son, and Heather this morning that Chip was actually riding on the roof of my mini miner back in our college days when we rolled over, and I thought I killed my brother. That was 45 years ago. Fortunately, he was thrown off the roof and slid off into the desert, and we crawled out and said, "Chip, Chip, where are you?" And I thought he'd be under the car, but he was alive, and thank God for that. So he could come here and see all of you after that. Well, Chip was born in 1946, as you already heard. He was born in Tucson, Arizona. I've known him all my life. I went to the hospital and peeked through the window. Back in those days, children weren't allowed to go inside the hospital. And I peeked through the window and saw him for the first time, my little brother. He was 4 years younger than I. And the things that I remember about Chip, his qualities, his personal qualities, I'm sure there are many here who would agree he was very generous. And if he had something that you wanted, he would loan it to you. But if somehow the way things are when things get loaned, it didn't come back, well, he just thought he gave it to you. And he was a very thoughtful gift giver to me. His gifts were sometimes very practical. And for example, one time I was having trouble sleeping and I complained to him about that. And he gave me this white sound machine. I still have it. I just came across it. In fact, since his passing, I've come across so many little gifts that he gave me over the years. And it's very touching to remember him by the times that he gave me those things. And he gave generously of himself. I'm sure you all know that too. And he was willing to help others without any thought of personal gain. And he was loyal, and he never forgot a friend. One of his friends from college is here, almost 45 years ago. He never forgot his high school friends. One of his high school friends was dying of cancer several years ago, and Chip made trips to the mainland to see him on numerous occasions and spent quite a bit of time with him in his last days. I'm sorry I couldn't memorize this. It was enough just to try to conjure up some of these things. He encouraged others to be their best. And again, I know that you've experienced that quality in him too. And I'm a struggling artist at this point in my life, and I do landscape painting. And he asked me if I would paint a landscape, a Southwest landscape that evoked a place where he and some of his college roommates lived in Tucson, Arizona. And I think really he wanted to present this to his friend who lives in New York, Steve Leon. I wish Steve was here today. But, and Steve was one of the people in the car when we rolled over that day. And he lived to tell the tale. Anyway, I think Chip wanted me to paint that painting for me, not for Steve. I think he just wanted to encourage me to continue painting and trying to be as best as I could be in that. And he was a Chip off the old block. He was named after our father. And he emulated many of my father's most outstanding qualities, including boating, hospitality, and interest and immersion in the culture around him. And my father was a neighbor of Dr. Kenneth Emery when he first moved here, and ended up being a docent at the Bishop Museum, which he was very proud of. He also inherited playing with kittens. My father liked to play with kittens too. So I guess it ran in the family. I have a dog. I don't know what happened to me. He was my little brother. He was my student in the operation of a standard 3 on the tree of my mother's 49 Chevy. She didn't know that I was giving him lessons, but that was how I taught him to drive. And he turned around after he had been a semi-truck driver and taught me how to handle a 40-foot RV. He was my partner in many practical jokes. He was the second father to my son, Justin. And he was my kumu for all things Hawaiian. We were best friends and mutual admirers. And by the way, it's already been mentioned, but Chip could lay hands on an engine and fix it like that. Many times I saw him do that, starting out probably with our lawnmower engines back when we were kids growing up. So, in conclusion, thanks again for listening. Thanks for being here. And when the silver cord is parted and the golden bowl is broken, I'm looking forward to finding my brother waiting, where our hearts will sing for joy forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. We're going to get Justin up to say a few words too, Justin. Again, if there's anyone else interested, just kind of raise your hand so I can look.
As my mother said, Chip was a second father, and probably more important than my own in so many respects. He was his greatest teacher, even if I wasn't always the best student, and perhaps some of the lessons weren't that great either. Chip didn't teach me to drive, but with the help of the e-brake, he certainly taught me how to drive a car sideways. And for those of you who know Chip very well, I adopted the same attitude towards the Department of Motor Vehicles that he has. And similarly, this may not be an issue on the islands, but I adopted the Chip's gardening costume, and on many occasions my neighbors have said that it's probably not appropriate to be in your boxers in the front yard. But the greatest lesson that Chip ever taught me, and I think he learned it from my grandfather, was just to be curious about everything. And I think that's how he was able to gather this array of friends from so many walks of life and so many backgrounds. You know, when I was a little kid, he lived in Los Angeles. When punk rock came around, and he was told, you know, he immersed himself in that culture, and as 8 or 9, I guess, and he took me to places, you know, the all ages venues and things of this nature that were very influential to me, not only because of the music, but the outlook that it gave you to be an outsider or to be different and to question, I guess, the status quo. And I think that's the same thing that happened when he got here. And immersed himself in the Hawaiian culture, and I think you all recognize that he was one unique haole to be, you know, to have, as LJ's daughter said, to be so important in the culture and what, you know, what has gone on and what will continue to go on in Makumanamanu and etc. There was, as my mom said, one of the things that always amazed me is his ability to fix any engine. And it wasn't necessarily that it was his ability or his mechanical abilities or skill, but more that, you know, I would be this little kid and we'd have a motorcycle or a jet ski or a go-kart or whatever, and he'd send me off to stall it or crash it into something, and inevitably he would come and fix it, and he would never be frustrated. It was always just fix it, and not even take this, you know, go-kart for himself and go have fun on it. Just go get back on it and crash it again. And he never, you know, it's so amazing. And then on our trip to the Northwest Hawaiian Islands, this was all brought home to me because, you know, we were 12 days in blue water, and I don't think I ever saw Chip not in that damn engine compartment. Streaming sweat and covered in grease, and oftentimes on that trip, you know, elbows deep in black water from the broken bilge pumps. But he always had a smile on his face. He was never mad in there, and you never heard cursing or anything. And I think it was that I know he didn't like being down there. I know that for a fact. But I think that he took great pride in taking care of us, and everyone that was on that boat was his friend or a loved one, and he took it as a personal accomplishment to make sure that we were all well taken care of, and that was his joy, I think. I'm sorry, I'm having a rough time with this. But I guess in closing, I just wanted to say, you know, that the one thing I learned from him was not to be afraid of really anything. And he went through life with an open heart and an open mind. And you know, these are things that are required to, you know, to become friends with so many people, and that he was, you know, what I learned from it was that whenever I go into a situation, whether, you know, it was being a little kid in a, you know, was a scary punk rock bar, or you know, Howley in Hawaii, was that as long as you approach everyone with an open mind, you'll be aware of whatever there is that might be dangerous, but you'll also be unafraid of it. And if you have an open heart, everyone will see that you are a good person. And you know, there's no, everywhere I've been, any country or weird place or dangerous environment, whatever, I've always felt that, I've always learned that lesson, which was also from my grandfather, but that you can just, that people recognize good people, and that you won't be victimized by that, because of that. And that's the greatest thing, is that I have had so many adventures with Chip, and so many fond memories, and so much that was wonderful. And I just want to thank everyone for being here today. It's really special to see everyone here. So many friends and people that I know and people that I don't know. And can't wait to get to know you. So thank you very much. And
Acknowledge us then. We got another speaker coming up.
When I picked up the urn at Warner and Chip's house this morning and to carry it out to the van, I told Chip he was going to have a good day. And he is. My name's Jerome Siebenrock. I live on the Big Island. I met Chip in '66 in Tucson. I was in the military, and he and a bunch of his friends, school friends from Phoenix, were in Tucson going to University of Arizona. I got shipped out to Thailand, and Chip joined the Peace Corps, went to Malaysia. We did not have contact during that time. I later got out of the military and I joined the Peace Corps and went to Africa. I came back. I wound up coming to the Big Island, and one of the other friends of Chip from Tucson Came over and visited Chip here, and then came over and visited me, and through that I got reconnected with Chip. And Chip and I established a very, very close relationship. He has Chip and Lorna have a property, and Ross, by the way, have a property about a mile from me. They recently committed to moving to the Big Island. I got 5 generators waiting for Chip to help me get them running that people have given me. I've got 2 of his go-karts. I've got his stretched out Chevy van sitting in my yard. I got 2 of his ATVs in my old horse barn. I'm waiting for Chip to come over and get all these things running. And Chip really loved speed. He loved mechanical work, and other people have really touched on a lot of his life that I've been able to experience with him. But the thing that I want to really say is, in my life, I've really only encountered a few people that are, whatever you want to call it, love or soulmates or whatever, and the life that is like a oneness. And that's how I felt about Chip. That was our relationship. Chip and I went through medical problems together, and marital discussions together, and Chip was the guy that I could sit down and there were no holds barred. We could get to the crux of the matter and talk about it, and damn, I loved him. Thank you.
Oh, mahalo so much, John. We're going to keep to say a few words also. Hi, aloha. I see a lot of our friends out there from the boating industry, from the boating world. And a lot of you know I was with the Harbor Pilots for 20 years as their senior pilot boat captain. And on the other side of that, I'm the guy you guys hired to paint the name on the yacht and the boat. And this is how Chip and I kind of connected all of you guys together. If I was painting somebody's boat and they say, hey, you know a mechanic, I need somebody to do something, I said, yeah, I got the guy. And then same thing, if he was working on a boat and they needed the name painted on there, well, that's how I got involved. But I gotta tell you something, I remember meeting Chip 29 years ago. Chip remembers me 37 years ago. So I said, okay, here's how it happened. Chip and I met at a, what do you call these, a beer bus for a canoe club back in, I think it was 83. And we met each other, and he came up to me, he says, hey, I know you. And I said, yeah, right. So the rest of the night, he says, you know, I know you. And so he invited me to his house. Later, he was living up here with Ned in Uehara somewhere. So he was persistent the whole night. You gotta come to my house. I want you to come up to my house. Da 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 da. You know, and I was like, okay, what's this all about? This guy is very persistent. He kept saying, I know you. And I said, okay, I'll come to your house, but first let me go grab my girlfriend, then I'll come up there. So we get up to the house in Uehara. And Ned's there, and I'm there, and I had my girlfriend there with me, and he says, you know, I know you. And we started talking and this and that. He came out and rolled up a few dubs, and then we were instant friends. But here's how it happens, his story on how he met me. A lot of you might not know that in the 70s, Chip ran a boat out of San Pedro. Chip was the captain,
He was the cook and he was the waiter. And he'd charter his boat out to couples, 3 or 4 people maybe. And he'd take them out in Long Beach. They anchor out by one of the oil islands, serve them a nice steak and lobster dinner, and put on some music, and then take them back into San Pedro. Well, sometime around that period, I was already living in Newport Beach, and I was already painting boats. Chip hired me to put the name on his boat. So I completely forgot all about that. That's how Chip figures that he knew me back then. Well, at that time, we were both running a big semi-truck interstate. And I had to tell him, you know what, Chip, those days are hazy. I don't remember all that stuff. Well, that was about 70s. You know what was going on back then. So Chip was running for Overnight Express. He was hauling double trailers for Sears from Los Angeles to Seattle, dropping off trailers all the way up, empty trailers, bringing loaded trailers back down. And I was doing the same thing for IML Freight. We would stay at the same truck stops. We'd meet at the same truck stops. And this is how he remembers our friendship starting up. Was when I was painting his boat back then, and then from our trucking days. And then we started up over here. We resumed our friendship, and we were really close. Chip and I were kind of like on the same channel. We were entrepreneurs. We did everything together. I had a trucking thing going on, and if I had a breakdown at 4 in the morning when I was trucking over here, I could call him. And I explained to him, hey, my brakes are locked up, this is going on, da-da-da-da. And he walked me through the whole thing on the phone, on how to get the truck going again, how to get the diesel motor started up, this and that, and stuff like that. So I introduced Chip to, in 1988, we started the sailing canoe races. Those 6-man canoes, we put sails on them. Started racing from here to Lihue and Maui to Honolulu. Then I got him involved, because I was a member of Hokulea, I got him involved with us on the canoe and escorting us all over the place. And we had fun times. We even got to escort the battleship New Jersey in when we brought it into port. Our friends out here with everybody with LJ and a bunch of us, we remember our days on the rum line. This big, 60-foot striker that we'd sail all over the state. Chip and I also had a love for Arabian music, Egyptian music. Remember that? We would swap CDs constantly, and Chip loved music from around the world. So him and I constantly were trading CDs and this and that about our love for music from the Middle East. Anyway, there's a few things I wanted to share with you guys, but at one point, we were looking for a standby pilot boat captain. And I threw Chip's name and his application onto our desk. And at that time, whenever the pilots put out the word they were going to look for a pilot boat captain, it's a really hard job to get. And like 700 guys would throw in applications. Well, I got Chip's application, gave it to the pilots. And we're talking about David Lyman now. David Lyman said, hey, you know what? This guy is good. So I sold Chip's name to the rest of the 9 pilots, and we hired him as a backup pilot. Because what we do out at sea, transferring pilots to the ship, it's what I call precision boat handling, because it's a very dangerous maneuver. But they brought Chip on my word, and they knew Chip's abilities, especially with David Lyman. So a little bit about that probably you guys did not know, but Chip was one of our relief pilot boat guys. Anyway, in closing, I just wanted to say, you know, I'm going to miss this guy. Him and I have had a great friendship over, what I say, 30 years or 37 years, and I was really lucky and fortunate. I've been living on Maui the last couple of years now, and with my job, I come to Honolulu a lot, and I remember Anella telling me, you know, Uncle Chip's not doing so well, you better go see him, da-da-da. So I called him a few times. Well, this one day I was in town, something told me, you know, you better go see Chip. So I canceled my whole afternoon and drove down to Kahalu, where they live. Got to spend an hour with Chip and with Lorna. And we were talking that, he's going to do this for the next year, and we're going to do that we got all kinds of stuff planning, And 4 days later, he passed away. I was just really lucky and fortunate that I had that time to spend with him. And Lorna. Anyway, in closing, I just want to say Chip is one of the most courteous gentlemen I've ever known. He was one unique friend, one unique Holly. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys.
I'd like to thank all of you for sharing your kind words and your messages for everyone. We ask that these memories embellish into your mind, into your heart forever. I was trying to put some words and thoughts together. Again, I brought them together 20-something years ago, and it was a fog back in those days. Back in the 70s and 80s, there was a fog. I don't know what it was, but it was a fog about things. But I was so blessed to be part of their lives. I remember telling Lorna at her wedding, I go, yeah, you had such a beautiful, she goes, you was at my wedding? I said, well, didn't I bring you guys together? Yeah. I said, but I don't remember you at my wedding. I said, you had like a seat for me and my date. You had a lay for us, and you shared this story of how we introduced you. She goes, it was like a fog back then, so same fog. Skylark had the fog, Mike, Keith, we all were surrounded by this fog. I'm glad it lifted. So I like to share, and I was trying to come up with something to share, and I said maybe I'll just go online and pull out a poem. So cheap. So I'm looking, and no, none of this fits the bill. I get a call from Japan, and it was some friends that I've been helping out spiritually, sharing our spirituality and the foundation of the Hawaiian culture. And he shared with me that having you in our life has changed everything that we are. We see things through a different lens now. We see things more clearly. We ask before we take. And you have been part of that catalyst, and we thank you so much. And I told them, thank you. This is the message I needed to hear. Because that's who Chip truly was. And I sat down and I put these thoughts together. And it's called Touched by the Masters. Please don't worry or dwell on how he left, but remember him for how he lived. Don't think about what he gained, but for what he gave. For this is how we honor him. He quotes that there are the masters of the universe. We truly know that he was touched by the masters. For his touch helped so many. If there was something you needed, he would make sure he was able to assist you in any way. If you needed kokoi in building or repairing something, he would be the last one to leave. His touch inspired us, motivated us to be of service to others, and to love each other unconditionally. He was truly a man whose journey was never ending. Even after his passing, he continued being of service to others. His presence is felt through the winds that blow from the mountain to the ocean, through the birds that soar high above the heavens, through the sprays of the ocean waves that gently caress you. And when you look into the heavens and see the twinkling of the stars that shine at night. But most important is his touch, his imprint of his love and his kindness that is felt deep within your hearts and stored in your memories. The gift of his touch that no one can ever take away from you. He's truly a special soul, what we call in Hawaii a spirit of aloha. As we mourn his passing, rest assured that he watches over us from the beautiful rainbows that touches the heavens and returns to earth as radiant lights of love and healing that not only nurtures us, but the Aina as well. But for now, he's of service with the masters of the universe, because his journey is never ending. Ahui ho, my friend, until we meet again. Everyone hold hands, and this is such a special song, and it's the love that we have for everyone that is here. Form a circle, okay, a snake, or whatever you want to call it, a coil, some rope. And then, you know, this here, just to let you know, this circle is closed here. It is the kupunas that stand there holding this openness. Everybody sing along. I ask at this time that you bow your heads in silence and give this 1 minute of prayer and thought to Chip.
I'll remember you long after this, and the summer is gone. I'll be lonely, ooh, so lonely, living only to remember you. I'll remember you, your voice as soft as a warm summer breeze, your sweet laughter, mornings after, ever after, ooh, I'll remember you. To your arms someday, I'll return to stay. I will remember too every bright star we made wishes upon. Love me always, promised always. Ooh, you remember too. your arms someday. I'll return to stay. Till then, I will remember too every bright star. We make wishes upon lovely always, promised always. Ooh, you remember too. I'll remember you.